Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Premier League Front History with me, Tom Atkinson, a show whereby we analyse the weekend's Premier League action with a fine-tooth comb. This week, I would love to talk about, number one, the transfer overview, the first £1 billion transfer window in history in the Premier League. Number two, trouble at West Ham, both on and off the field. Number three, how good are City under Pep Guardiola? And finally, number four, the new rules implemented by referees this season. How are they holding up? If you'd like to join the discussion on a weekly basis, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below, or find me on Twitter at @TommyAkki, at TommyAkki. Thank you very much. This last weekend's set of fixtures in the Premier League were absolutely superb, starting with United and City, Guardiola and Mourinho renewing that ancient, sacred, historic rivalry again in the Premier League. It was absolutely wonderful to watch. We got to see Leicester looking meek, middle of the pack yet again, humble and 4-1 defeat away to Liverpool with their new stand finally unveiled at Anfield, bringing their capacity up to 54,000. And, we just saw a whole host of fantastic games. The Watford game versus West Ham was end-to-end breathtaking. 6-goal thriller, something we're going to explore in a minute. Absolutely mesmerising kind of game. But before we actually get into talking about specific games, I just want to quickly discuss the transfer window that recently closed. Like I already mentioned at the beginning of the show, over 1 billion, 1.175 to be precise, billion pounds spent. 13 clubs broke their transfer record. £89.3 million allegedly shelled out by United for Pogba. £47.5 million shelled out by City for John Stones. David Luiz making a return to Chelsea for over £32 million. City spending over £177 million. 173 loan deals. You're never more than 6 feet from a Chelsea player right now. Astronomical amount of players. 38 of their younger players, well, not even younger, just players in general, loaned out. £170 million spent on deadline day alone. Mind-boggling numbers being thrown around there. I think for me, though, personally, the two biggest, I don't even say biggest, the two standout transfers are Jordan Ibe at £15 million and Jeff Hendrick at £10.5 million. Just wacky amounts of money being spent. Jeff Hendrick never played in the Premiership before. Commands a £10.5 million fee. Had a good Euro 2016, don't get me wrong, he played pretty well for the Republic, but you can't justify shelling out that kind of money for someone like Jeff Hendrick. It's crazy to me. Jordan Ibe, handful of games, goes for £15 million to Bournemouth. Okay, we're not talking about a 5-season veteran who's got a pretty good goal return ratio. We're talking about a young lad, like 21, 22 years old, if that, has made a handful of appearances for Liverpool, is being sold for £15 million. Absolutely outrageous amounts of money being thrown out. Of course, all coming around thanks to this new Premiership television rights deal. But in a way, for me, it hasn't ruined by any means, but it's definitely put a dampener on proceedings. I used to love the days when David Moyes bought Mikel Arteta for £2 million from Real Sociedad, and we were all a bit like, oh, who's this kid? We don't seem to get that as much anymore. Zlatan Ibrahimovic signed for a free. I guess you could throw that one in there. Really good signing for United so far. But just looking at that money thrown around, the question has to be raised, how long is this going to last for? In all seriousness, how long can the Premier League bubble continue to expand and expand and expand before it pops? Okay, we see some really interesting facts that I just quoted there, but 13 clubs in the Premier League, I keep calling it the Premiership, the Premier League breaking their transfer record. What a statistic that is. How long can this last? I don't really know. Very interesting debate, I'm sure, will arise from this issue. Let me know what you think. Of course, with the ridiculous amount of money being thrown into the Premier League this season comes this unique set of pressures that a lot of teams face. West Ham United, one of those teams not coping so well with this newfound pressure, did extremely well last year under Slaven Bilic, qualified for the Europa League. They had a fantastic set of additions to their squad. Dimitri Payet, obviously the standout player for them last year. This year they've really struggled to replicate the form that they found last season. Part and parcel, in my opinion, that is because of this unique set of pressures. I feel like their owners, their chief execs, chairmen, women, whoever it is, has decided to cash in on the situation they find themselves in, try to take the squad to America. They don't do well whatsoever. They have to come back from America, so they go there, they train, they do awfully in their games. They come back for their qualifying games, bomb out in those games. They're absolutely dreadful. Get beat by the Bulgarian champions, Astra, I believe is how you say their name. And they just haven't looked good since then. They've looked lethargic, they've looked lazy, they've looked sluggish. And I definitely think part of that issue is down to the fact that they travelled to America, tried to have a pre-season there, then came back and had already quite a hectic schedule with their European games. Something they've really struggled with. The on-pitch failures has started to reverberate into the stands. Seen on several occasions, 2 or 3 times this season already. There's been fighting in the stadium. They're having an issue with the safe standing. Is there going to be standing there or not? There's fans being thrown out game after game. David Gould having to come out on Twitter and say that they're looking to rectify this issue as soon as possible. And it's just not a great season for West Ham. Last year, fantastic. Last season, the first season since 1985-1986 season, whereby they finished the Premier League season with a positive goal difference. Tells you a lot about how, I don't want to say struggle, but how difficult the past has been for West Ham. Bilic offers this ray of sunshine and they move into this stadium. And the issue I think they're also having is trying to make this stadium their own. It's an Olympic stadium. It's big. It's airy. It doesn't look like they fill it out to capacity. I'm not 100% certain because I've never been, obviously, but maybe the atmosphere isn't quite what it was at Upton Park. It looks amazing, don't you? It looks absolutely fantastic. The grounds are wonderful. I'm over the moon that the stadium was repurposed. The photos and videos they've released from inside the stadium, the facilities, look absolutely second to none. But the matter of the fact is, it isn't West Ham's home right now. And they're really struggling to make it their home. And the on-the-pitch issues that they're having, which I've just sort of explained in some detail there, is having a negative impact on the fans, in my opinion. Hence we see the infighting, because a lot of the fighting hasn't necessarily been scraps between the away fans and the home fans. It's been bickering between stewards and fans over the standing issue. It's been over fans bickering at one another and ending up in fisticuffs. It's something we don't want to see. I know it's only early days. I really hope Slaven Bilic can turn it round, because he's an absolutely fantastic coach. Time will tell. I think they need to give him the benefit of the doubt. We can't have a knee-jerk reaction, but time will tell in West Ham's case. Another team on the other end of the spectrum, though, Manchester City. New coach Pep Guardiola look like absolute world beaters at the moment. The intensity, the ferocity, the intricacy of their play is second to none. Superb. Absolutely superb. And I think all credit, realistically, has to go to Guardiola. That being said, he's probably the first world-class manager that City have had since they found their fortunes with some oil money. Holding nothing against them. It's fantastic for a club that have really suffered in years gone by. But Saturday was sort of, in my opinion, it is going to be the fulcrum of their season. It's going to be, there was an immense amount of pressure on this game. There was the mind games from Jose, as you would always expect. And City just quite simply outplayed Manchester United, especially in that first half. United couldn't deal with them. They didn't know what to do. Blind looked vulnerable. Bailly looked vulnerable. The midfield was really non-existent. Paul Pogba, £89 million, didn't see him do anything. City just knew what to do. What I love about City and what I love about Guardiola is the way that he uses the fullbacks. They're not just defensive pieces on a chessboard. He brings them inside and he swarms in midfield with ball-playing fullbacks. He has fullbacks who are very comfortable on the ball and they can overwhelm a midfield. Countless times we saw Pogba really struggle to get a grips with the centre of that midfield simply because there were so many numbers there and they could pass around him. There was always an option. mainly because those fullbacks give them another dimension. I don't see a lot of other clubs utilising that. United, the fans will be really, really disappointed to lose that game against City. There was a ray of hope when Claudio Bravo, bless his cotton socks, struggled under that cross, dropped the ball, and fantastic finish from Zlatan. Feel sorry a little bit for Bravo. Joe Hart left under a cloud. The guy who comes in to replace him has an off day in his first day at the office. He's a great goalkeeper though, so I think he'll bounce back sooner rather than later. I think United would have hoped for a better start. I know that goes without saying, but there's a really interesting statistic that Man United have actually never lost a game at Old Trafford that they've led at half-time since the Premier League was founded. Unbelievable statistic. And I think it's something that served them well over the years, that fast start. They try and put a mark on a game. Couldn't do it against City though, just could not find a way to get into that game until Zlatan pounced on that error. Bring on Rashford second half, and I tell you what, he is going to be some footballer in years to come. Zlatan has already come out and said that the world's at his feet, that he could take over the world with his football and talent. And he just looks fearless, doesn't he? He's very much almost like a Pep Guardiola style player. He's direct, he can pass, he looks for the easy option, but is not afraid to try something that's going to lead to a goal. In all, I've been impressed by both teams this season. I would say Pep Guardiola slightly edges the two teams who I'm impressed with, simply because of the resurgence of Otamendi, absolute colossus in the heart of that City defence this weekend. The re-emergence of Raheem Sterling under the very brief tutelage of Pep Guardiola. He looks a man reborn. God, he's got confidence. That potential we all saw a couple of years ago is starting to blossom into something special. And I think Pep's always going to be the man to bring that out in talented players, but I really think something special is happening over at City right now. It's not just City who have this revival on the go at the minute though. The referees have got together and decided enough is enough. They've introduced some new rules this season in an attempt to, I guess, increase respect toward the officials and to clear up a few little rules that maybe have been unclear in years gone by. I really love the yellow card for, I guess, insubordination is a really good way to put it. Any kind of complaints and there's just a yellow card. There's no ifs, ands or buts. You try to get in the referee's face, you swarm the referee, you swear at the referee, you offend the referee, automatic yellow card. Nobody's been sent off yet because of it. I can see it happening sooner rather than later. A couple of the referees have maybe been a little bit too relaxed with their implementation of the rule. I'm totally for it. It annoys me no end when you see the players swarm a referee, or you can lip read just enough to know that they're not calling them their best friend. They're telling them to bugger off, so to speak. But it's always the same with referees, isn't it? We think the directive is superb, and it's just all about how well it's enforced. It's been enforced relatively well by specific referees so far this season, but not everyone. Clattenburg, I always have a lot of time for. I think he's great and he's enforcing it really well. But then there's people like Kevin Friend. It's a little bit too inconsistent for my liking. That being said, not this most recent round of fixtures, but the round before the international break, I thoroughly enjoyed Marko Arnautovic getting a yellow card for complaining after already winning a free kick. Won a free kick, had to go at the ref. The decision was reversed, and he got a yellow card for it. Top-notch refereeing, absolutely brilliant. That's something I love to see. And on the same line as the yellow cards and the taking no crap when it comes to abuse, there is the new penalty directive. Such a huge talking point, and I honestly think it will be all season. Very hard for referees, especially when you consider a lot of referees obviously haven't played football at as high a level as the Premier League or the Championship or even the lower leagues. They've never played at that level. They don't have a true understanding of what goes on. It's going to be very hard for them to consistently make the right decision. That being said, there has been multiple examples this year where it has been enforced correctly so. A couple of times where it hasn't been enforced, and a couple of times where it's been enforced and it really shouldn't have been enforced. One great example of that is Benteke. Not this weekend just past, but the weekend before. We saw him awarded a penalty when he had his back to goal and won the ball. Not really sure how that works. We see Sterling and Shawcross punished in that City Stoke game, both for holding on to shirts in the penalty box. Penalties rightly awarded. But then we see players like Robert Huth against Swansea isn't awarded a penalty when it was very clear. So unfortunately, as much as this is a great idea, the directive comes from the right area, and we all want to see this happen. It's going to be so hard to enforce it, and I don't think it's going to be consistent. I think it's going to become a real issue as the season progresses, and it's annoying because it's one of those things where we all know that it's an issue. We all want some kind of resolution to it, but it's not going to happen, is it? Unfortunately. And ladies and gentlemen, that is all we have time for this week. Thank you for tuning in to the inaugural episode of Premier League Front History. If you're wondering what Front History means, it is a house of learning. Something we do all day, every day. I hope you learned something this week from this week's happenings in the Premier League. And I've just been thinking as well, as a side note to end on really, just how lucky we really are with the plethora of world-class managerial talent we have in the Premier League this season. You know, we've got Jose Mourinho, we've got Pep Guardiola, we've got Arsene Wenger, we've got Jurgen Klopp, we've got Antonio Conte, we've got Mario Pochettino, we've got Slaven Bilic, we've got some good young and up-and-coming managers, okay? David Moyes is back, he's in control of Sunderland. We're really, really fortunate to have such a fantastic season lying ahead of us. I speak for everybody saying how much of a fairy tale and wonderful story last year's title-winning campaign by Leicester was, but this year it's just so unclear what's going to happen. We're like 4 games in, nothing has been resolved other than the fact we know City are absolutely fantastic. So excited to see what happens this season. If you'd like to get involved in any way, shape or form, if you'd like to share some thoughts of your own, if you'd like to disagree vehemently with what I've said, please don't abuse me too much. If you would like to just voice your opinion in some way, shape or form, please go ahead and leave a comment below. If you liked what you heard, subscribe. It's going to be a similar vein week to week. And if you want to get in touch on a more personal level, feel free to follow me on Twitter. That's Tommyaki is my handle, and that's at TOMMYAKKI. Feel free to shoot me a message, a mention, whatever you want. I hope you enjoyed this inaugural episode of Premier League Front History. Stay safe, ladies and gentlemen. I will speak to you next week.